Okay, so here's what we're doing. We're going to take these strips of metal and we're going to bend them over so that we end up with something that looks like this. It's got that nice sort of teardrop shape on it, and then this will get welded along here on both sides, and then a slot will be cut right here after it's welded. I tested with cutting the slot and then welding, but I found that the slot widened out a little bit, which is not what I want. So instead we will just do the teardrop bend and then weld and then cut the slot. It will complicate the slot cutting a little bit, but not terrible. So I mark 1.6 inches back. And then line that up so that this line that I just marked is exactly on the top of the vise, pretty close to exactly on. Take my tiny little square, line that up so that it's nice and square, tighten that down, give that a quick bend over, and now if you can see in there, that line is just about in the middle of the bend, which is exactly what you want. Come over here to my little bending jig with this little sort of guillotine blade, and that's a piece of 1/4 inch round, so that when it goes in there, it can slide down and bend the piece of metal, just like this. Slide that in place there. That's picked it up. Like that. Of course, I've lost my supplied little stick with the release wrench in it, but that's okay. This works. And that results in a bend about like that. This bend is, of course, not enough, but you can see how we're getting there. Then we take my very cleverly engineered piece of 1/4 inch round, kind of hang it right there, clamp it down, and what you'll notice is that the strip slides along as you clamp it down, which is okay. It just finds the level that it can work at. Give that a nice good wrench, and that leaves it about like that. But this is the 3/4 inch length that the plans specify. So that's just about right. Then I take my longer piece, then clamp the whole thing down again. Notice that this is pinched, it's not going anywhere. Then I do this twisting back and forth, which opens up the teardrop shape a little bit, leaves that a little bit of wiggle room, means that it can come out nicely, and means that when you release it, it's clamped tight. It doesn't want to pull apart, it doesn't spring apart there. So when I weld it, I'm not welding in any tension, which is nice. And that is how I'm bending up a strip. So once I have made up a strip in the bending portion, I come out here to the welding bench, fire up the welder, and this is the result. And get that a little closer for you. This is a fully prepared bent end of a drag strip. So it's got the slot cut here, it's got the edges welded like it should, and it's bent over. That's the 3/4 inch dimension. And this one is a little bit short because it was did the first bend over wrong, and so it lost a little bit of length there. And the rest of these are all welded up. The first two I slotted. I discovered that when I slotted them first and then welded, as the weld shrank, it pulled the slot apart a little bit, which makes the slot a little bit too wide for the plans. So the rest of them got welded up as unslotted, and then I'll take them back to the mill and do the slotting as the final step. It messes up my height adjustment a little bit on the mill, but not much I can do about that. Got to do it one way or another, and this will just be a little bit more work on the mill. So I need to make 36 of these. I've made the first 17 here. Obviously only 2 are completely done. Once they're all completely done and ready to go, they'll actually, once started building the wing, I will put them in their position and figure out the right length for them to be, and then they'll get cut off. Most of these are too long. They should get cut off and will be cut to length, and there will be a hole drilled in this end. So after a false start with the slitting saw, which is this vehicle right here, this did not love the heat-hardened loop after it had been welded. It was a very different noise than it made last time. So, on the advice of folks in the Biplane forum, I tried using an abrasive cutoff disc, and it worked way better. So that's what I'm doing now, doing all my cutoffs, or my slotting, with a 1/16 inch thick abrasive cutoff disc. So that results in a cut that is pretty clean. Leaves a little bit of burrs here. Pretty clean on the leading edge. Trailing edge just needs a little bit of cleanup and needs to be widened out a little bit because it's a little too small. It should be 0625, and we're getting 060. So the disc is a little bit thin, which is fine. Use a file to widen that out a little bit. It wants to be 070 per the plans. Now really, as long as it fits a piece of 1/16 inch thick steel, I don't really care how wide it is. It doesn't right now. So I want to widen that out a little bit. Come over here to my friendly vise, clamp that in, use my little tiny file. And then the actual test that I use is to take this piece of strip material that I ended up cutting off from a previous attempt and just passing it in. And it passes in, has a little bit of wiggle, so that's about what it needs to be. So, finished. Looks pretty good. And on to the pile with you.